the textbook definition. At its heart, biotechnology is all about using technology to tweak a biological system for our benefit. It's about taking something alive, could be a tiny microbe, a plant cell, you name it, and using it as a tool to make things that improve our lives. Simple as that.
Now let's jump forward to today, because while that basic idea is ancient, modern biotechnology is on a whole other level of sophisticated. It really all stands on two huge pillars that work together to turn these wild ideas into real-world solutions.
And here they are, genetic engineering and bioprocess engineering. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Genetic engineering is like being the author. It's where we get to actually rewrite the biological rulebook to create something totally new. Then, bioprocess engineering is like the printing press. It's how we take that one amazing new creation and make millions of copies for the rest of the world.
So let's start with the part that just blows my mind, the rewriting. How in the world do scientists actually edit the code of life? This is where we get into the real nitty-gritty of genetic engineering.
The magic that makes this all possible? It's a technique called recombinant DNA technology. Seriously, this is the toolkit that lets scientists literally cut and paste genetic code, changing the genes of an organism to give it brand new, super useful abilities.
So how's it actually done? Well, it's this really elegant four-step dance. First, you have to find the exact gene you want. Let's say it's a gene that makes a plant resistant to bugs. Next, you need a little biological taxi to carry that gene into a new cell. We call that a vector. Then comes the tricky part. You insert this new DNA package into your host organism. And finally, and this is key, you have to make sure the host not only accepts the new code, but actually passes it on to its kids. Now, to do all this genetic surgery, you need some very special tools. The first one is something called a restriction enzyme. Just think of these as molecular scissors. They are programmed to snip DNA at a very, very specific spot, which lets scientists cut out the exact gene they need with unbelievable precision. Okay, so you've cut out your gene. Now you need to get it where it's going. That's where the vector comes in. This is basically your genetic delivery truck. A lot of the time, it's a small loop of DNA from a bacterium called a plasmid. Its whole job is to carry your precious gene cargo and merge it into the host's own DNA. And when you put all those pieces together, what do you get? A genetically modified organism, or GMO. A perfect example from the real world is something called Bt cotton. Scientists took a gene that helps it fight off destructive pests and put it right into the cotton's DNA. Pretty amazing. So, making one bug-resistant cotton plant in a lab, that's incredible. But how do you get that advantage out to millions of farmers all over the globe? This is where we have to shift gears, from the science lab to the factory floor. And this is where that second pillar, bioprocess engineering, becomes absolutely crucial. This is the science of scaling up. It's all about taking that one successful experiment and figuring out how to produce it, or the stuff it makes, on a massive industrial scale. We're talking about things like antibiotics, vaccines, enzymes. Bioprocess engineering is the only way we can make these complex biological products in the huge quantities that everybody needs.
And this has its own set of steps. You start by growing your modified organism in these huge, super clean vats called bioreactors. Then you have to purify the stuff you actually want. That's called downstream processing. After that, it gets formulated so it's ready to be used, and of course, it goes through intense quality checks to make sure everything is safe and effective before it ever gets to you.
So, we've talked about the science of rewriting DNA and the engineering of making tons of it. Now, let's bring it all home. Let's look at how this tech is already shaping the world you and I live in every single day.
The impact is just everywhere. In medicine, bioprocess engineering gives us the huge amounts of vaccines and antibiotics that save millions of lives. In farming, genetic engineering gives us tougher crops, like that Bt cotton we talked about. And hey, even those ancient commercial uses, like using fermentation to make wine, that's all biotechnology, a skill we've been perfecting for centuries. So here's the bottom line, the most important takeaway. From our health to our food to so many products we use, biotechnology has a massive positive impact on human welfare. It's a field that is fundamentally about improving our quality of life, fighting disease, and honestly, building a more sustainable future.
And that leaves us with one last really powerful thought to chew on. For the first time in the history of our planet, we as a species have the tools to directly engineer life itself. The question isn't if we can do it anymore. The question is, what will we do with it? What's next? The code, quite literally, is in our hands.